National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Welcome to the National News broadcast. I'm Niket Karunaratne, together with Sharon Mascarenas. We'll start off with the headlines as usual. Sri Lanka's first sterilized medicine plant has been opened. Russian Aeroflot Airlines resumes flights with Sri Lanka. A Sri Lankan professor who kept his name at the world-famous Pfizer company. The National Child Protection Authority requests not to use children as a shield in protests. Intellectuals praise the president's proposal to reduce the number of local government councillors. The Sri Lanka women's cricket team qualifies for the semi-final round of the Asia Cup T20 cricket tournament. 22 persons killed in an earth slip in Venezuela.
On to the stories in detail now, starting off with local news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe notes that the country needs a national policy that does not change with every government that comes to power, and invited everyone to commit to building the country on one national policy without party differences. The president pointed out that to build a developed economy and to raise Sri Lanka to the pinnacle of the world, a solid economic policy as well as political stability is a must. Hence, he invited everyone to join hands to discuss the national policy framework using the Jantika Sabhava as a platform. President Wickremesinghe made these observations declaring open the first life-saving pharmaceutical manufacturing plant established in Sri Lanka today. The drug manufacturing plant is located in the Katnayaka investment zone. The president, upon arrival, has officially declared open the plant by unveiling a plaque. The produce at the plant will be available in the local as well as international drug markets. Former President Maithripala Sirisena, ministers, government and opposition people's representatives were also present at the occasion. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, upon inspection of the medical plant, has addressed the gathering. He said that a national policy based on an export-oriented economy will be formulated utilizing competitive and modern technology. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that he is working towards establishing a national policy to prepare an export economy using competitive and modern technology. Expressing his views, the president said this investment has been done at a time when the country's economy is facing its hardest period. The budget deficit is one factor that has contributed to the collapse of the economy. The foreign exchange received by the country is not sufficient to meet the needs. Therefore, Sri Lanka has to obtain loans every year. Currently, the island is in a situation where it is unable to pay the debt. The economy must be rebuilt if we are to succeed. The president has stressed that the people must remember one thing, that it is the country that must earn the required foreign exchange. A deficit of foreign exchange cannot be maintained. The aim should be to keep the surplus of the expenditure ahead. For this, we need to increase the foreign income. For that purpose, the goods produced for export, the crops grown and the services provided should be increased. Sri Lanka needs an export-oriented economy that uses the most competitive technology. Today, people are facing grave difficulties. Many have lost their jobs. Some have to skip meals and remain hungry. We need to find long-term solutions to address these issues. It is not possible to go back and find solutions. That is why plans are being made today to create a very competitive, modern technology-based export economy. That is why we should make policies. The establishment that opened today was initiated when Maithripala Sirisena was the president and he was the prime minister. Rajatha Senaratne was the health minister at that time, and all of them contributed to taking this forward. This was the outcome of the initiatives taken by the good governance regime. They worked in silence. Then the government changed and a new government was elected. After Gotabaya Rajapaksa came to power, this program was not halted. Generally, when one government loses power and another one comes to power, the work done by the previous government is halted. However, this project was not stopped, and now he said he was declaring this establishment opens as a president. We should follow one national policy. We can change in our daily debates. However, we need to make one national policy. If we continue with that national policy, we will never fail. We made the mistake of changing policies with every change of government, even when the ministers change within the government. The president has questioned as to how one could expect prosperity under such circumstances. The country must have a good economic framework. There should be a good social framework as well as a political framework. The economic framework depends on the stability of the political framework. If a stable political system cannot be established, the people of the country will suffer. Today, all the parties are represented at the ceremony except the JVP. Therefore, the president said that he would like to invite everyone to work according to a national framework. The president added that the National Council and he would like to make it a stage to discuss the establishment of a national policy and to implement it. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also made a note in the guest book of Yardeni Institute.
ආරම්භ කරලා තියෙන්නේ. අපි ජාතික සභාව ඇති කරා. ඒත් මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන මේක අපි වේදිකාවක් කරගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා අනාගතේ අපිට තියෙන මේ ජාතික ප්‍රතිපත්ති ගැන සාකච්ඡා කරන්න.
Sri Lanka's first ever liquid sterile pharmaceutical facility by Yardeni International. A proud moment, no doubt, for a company that began in 2012 and aims to address the unmet medical supplies needed of Sri Lanka by importing and marketing quality regulated pharmaceuticals. The COVID pandemic exposed this weakness in our system and it has now caught up to us and we have had a pivot sharply. Self-sustenance through time has proven to be a protector and a steward of the country's economy. We may be late to the party, but it's better late than never. Yardeni promises to accomplish this and also the advent of new career opportunities and hope for the future generations to be able to live and work in Sri Lanka, all the while uplifting their personal and communal economy to world standards. With a projected saving of US 25 million per year once fully operational, this facility aims to be a lifeline to the Lankan economy in the years to come. Taking a leaf out of the playbook of both India and Bangladesh, their pharmaceuticals exports have become one of the chief income generators for their respective nations. I excitedly look forward to a future of similar promise with the ventures such as this.
Yardeni International has come a long way in the last 10 years. Starting with a staff of just 2 in a small office in Norris Canal Road, we began importing just one pharmaceutical product for the medical supplies division in 2012. Through the hard work of our team and the generous help of all who supported us, we had the fortune of becoming one of the leading importers of pharmaceuticals within a few years. We currently supply hundreds of distinct high-quality products to the Sri Lankan market. It was Yardeni's success as an importer that enabled us to expand our activities to manufacturing. We decided to invest in this facility in 2017, and I am extremely proud to have His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe declare it open today. The opening of Yardeni Laboratories marks the beginning of a new and noteworthy chapter in the storied history of Sri Lanka's pharmaceutical industry.
Now, Japan and Sri Lanka signed a memorandum of cooperation on the joint crediting mechanism for low carbon growth partnership this afternoon at the Presidential Secretariat. The memorandum of cooperation of the JCM was signed by the Secretary to the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Anil Jasinghe, and Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideki. Thereafter, the Japanese ambassador met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe and engaged in a cordial discussion. After its withdrawal from the second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol, Japan introduced the joint crediting mechanism in 2013 to contribute to the global effort of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. This mechanism has been developed to reduce GHG emissions jointly with developing countries and to share the greenhouse gas emissions reduced as the percentage between Japan and the agreed party country. Japan is currently implementing projects under the JCM mechanism in 17 countries. Through implementing the proposed projects under this mechanism, the benefits such as introducing new technologies and technical expertise, capacity building, generation of green jobs and new infrastructure development could be achieved. The government of Japan and its private sector will provide technical assistance and part of the capital investment to implement this mechanism in developing countries. Under this mechanism, projects in energy, industry, transport, waste, forestry and agriculture sectors for reducing GHG emissions are expected to be implemented. Moreover, Sri Lanka ratified the Paris Agreement on climate change on September 21, 2016. Sri Lanka also has submitted its nationally determined contributions to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Therefore, the implementation of the joint crediting mechanism in Sri Lanka will support achieving the GHG mechanism reduction targets under the Paris Agreement and contribute to the global effort of reaching the global temperature goal. Further, when implementing this mechanism, in Sri Lanka, a joint committee co-chaired by the governments of Japan and Sri Lanka and representatives of both countries will be established to approve the projects. Minister Nazir Ahmed, Senior Advisor to the President on National Security and Chief of Presidential Staff Sagala Ratnayaka, Presidential Advisor on Climate Change Ruwan Wijewardena and others attended the event.
Russian Aeroflot airline has recommenced flights with Sri Lanka today. Accordingly, the incoming Aeroflot plane was received by Ministers Nimal Siripala de Silva, Harin Fernando and State Minister Premalal Jayasekara this morning. The arrival of flights of the Aeroflot to Sri Lanka has been temporarily suspended due to a controversy pertaining to a judicial order preventing leaving the island of the aircraft of the airlines. The airline company has agreed to operate 2 flights in a week in the month of October and 3 flights per week from the month of November. Minister Harin Fernando said that the maiden journey was a successful one with a full load of 290 tourists. The minister has expressed hope that the good news of Sri Lanka spread by the tourists who spent time in Sri Lanka would enable to attract even more tourist arrivals. He also said the upcoming winter season, more Condor and Swiss airline operations to the island would become possible. An airline in Israel is also expected to send flights. Altogether, more than 7 new journeys will be added.
A smartphone app that can potentially detect COVID-19 based on the sound of a person's cough has been bought by Pfizer. The technology behind the app was developed by Associate Professor Udanta Aberatne, an expert in biomedical engineering from the University of Queensland. The app uses artificial intelligence to diagnose a range of respiratory diseases such as asthma, pneumonia and bronchitis by analyzing the sound of a person's cough. The cough can be spontaneous or voluntary. It also takes into account self-reported symptoms such as a runny nose or fever when diagnosing the severity of the condition. The app accurately identified 92% of infected individuals from their cough, the University of Queensland startup Resap Health announced earlier this year. They also said its app also had an 80% accuracy rate in identifying negative cases. Pfizer Inc., which is one of the world's largest biopharmaceutical companies, acquired Resap Health for 179 million Australian dollars. Dr. Aberatne said the research that led to the breakthrough began more than a decade ago with grant funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He further indicated that the technology will have a range of potential future uses, including at airports and for monitoring respiratory diseases after natural disasters such as flooding and hurricanes. Dr. Aberatne also said he is hopeful Pfizer's acquisition of the app will help realize his dream of improving patient outcomes around the world.
Chairman of the National Child Protection Authority, Senior Lecturer Uday Kumar Amarasinghe requests relevant parties not to use children as shields in protests. He has made these remarks in reference to the agitations conducted in Gulf Face Green yesterday. A group has got together at the location last evening to commemorate the completion of 6 months of the Gulfese conflict and to remember those who were killed in the incident. When the police informed the agitators to leave the premises, an altercation between the police and the group has taken place. Several persons have been arrested. Some agitators were seen using children as a cover during the restless moment. One child was admitted to the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital. Doctors said an internal or external injury or any disease condition was not witnessed in the child. Director of the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital, Dr. G.V.J. Surya, said that the child without any injury was later on discharged. He had requested parents, adults and groups, including politicians, not to bring children to agitations.
මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවන් වලට මේ දරුවන් රැගෙන යන්න එපා. ඊයේ සන්ධ්‍යාවේ ඒ ප්‍රවෘත්ති විකාශනයේදී මම දැක්කා සමහරක් උදවිය මේ තමන්ගේ දරුවන් උස්ස මාධ්‍යයන් වල ප්‍රදර්ශනය කරනවා මේ අවස්ථාවල් වලදී. එතකොට ඒක අපිට එතකොට බලා ඉන්න කෙනෙකුට මේකේ හැංගී යන්නේ මේක සැලසුම් සහගත ක්‍රියාවක් කියලා. රටේ පවතිනා වූ වාතාවරණය හෝ දේශපාලනය නිවැරදි කියලා මම ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. ඒවා යම් අඩුපාඩු තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් ඒ අඩුපාඩු විසඳා ගැනීම සඳහා පාසල් දරුවන් හෝ මේ කුඩා දරුවන් යොදා ගැනීම ඉතාමත්ම අභාග්‍ය සම්පන්න දෙයක්.
The National Child Protection Authority says there is a greater room for dangers and disasters when children are being used in protest campaigns. Chairman of the National Child Protection Authority, Senior Lecturer Uday Kumar Amarasinghe, said that he sees this as a breaching of the rights of children. Many of the children participating in the agitations are not mature enough to express their opinions as they are not experienced persons. He also says that the 10th clause in the United Nations Charter says that children should be kept under the custody of parents, legal custodians or government institutions.
Now, in further news, intellectuals have appreciated the statement made by the President yesterday regarding making changes in the electoral system, including reducing by half the number of local government institution councillors. Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva has expressed his opinions regarding this statement. Attorney at Law Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva said that the President is proposing to reduce the local government membership in half after taking into consideration the increasing government expenditure and the efficiency of the work carried out by the local government institution members. The burden is unbearable to the general public. If it is unable to be arrived at a consensus, then the proposals must be submitted to a referendum.
Opposition leader Sanjit Premadasa says that the era of making farmer victorious and infusion of the latest technology to agricultural industry will usher under a government of Samagi Jana Balawegaya. He was addressing the Mayangana electorate board meeting of the party. Opposition leader Sanjit Premadasa said that the harvesting of the last season was reduced by 50%. He has inquired whether there was an adequate quantity of seed, paddy or fertilizer. He said that a government under his leadership would give a stable price for the farmers' produce.
Now, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena reiterates that no government official should obstruct the government in order to hand over state lands to the village farmers for cultivating. He has made these remarks on the occasion of handing over the items to farmers, women and voluntary organisation in Kahandawata in Homagama. The goods were distributed through the decentralised budget of the parliamentarian Yadavini Gunawardena and the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that the government has given an order to lease for a period of 2 years state lands to the farmers for the purpose of cultivation. He adds that therefore government officials should not obstruct this order. The Prime Minister has also reiterated the need to overcome the food crisis through the cooperation of the general public.
Today is the 73rd anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army. Many programs are being implemented in connection with this event under the instructions of the Commander-in-Chief in the Army, the Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage. 372 Army officials and 7,127 officials in other ranks have been promoted to the next higher position in commemoration of the 73rd anniversary. This is a concise description of the Army anniversary. The Ceylon Army under the British Royal Army had been established as the Sri Lanka Army on the 10th of October 1949 after the Second World War. Sri Lanka Army, which is not second in terms of discipline and humanitarian nature to any other army in the world, had come a long journey. It was the local army which had been able to completely eradicate Elam tiger terrorism, which had burned the Sri Lankan land for a period of 26 years. Our army had given military leadership within a period of 3 years, astonishing the whole world. By today, the Sri Lanka Army is equipped with professional skills which could not be challenged by any other nation in the globe. The Sri Lanka Army has marched forward, enriching itself with the latest strategies and technologies. It is also engaged in researching latest technology to enhance more developed health and other facilities. The SLA is currently showing a great interest to engage in training sessions with many other countries in the world using the latest military strategies. Participation of our cadres in military training as well as security conferences with foreign countries with the aim of consolidating regional defense and cooperation is at a higher status. The Sri Lanka Army has also implemented several special projects for the welfare of the gallant soldiers. The work included construction of houses and handing over of scholarships to the children of the Army personnel. In addition, centres of rehabilitation by the names of Ranaviru Sevana, Abhimansala and Mihindu Seth Medura have been established to look after heroic soldiers who had been injured or disabled in action. The welfare operations give prominence to extend treatment and protection to these war heroes until the end of their lives. The Army personnel have also been accorded the opportunities to engage in peacekeeping operations in other countries. The Sri Lanka Army has also always been in the forefront in recruiting and granting relief to the victims at times of natural disasters such as floods and earth slips. The welfare program now being carried out on behalf of the general public who are being victimized by the natural disasters, displaying the human nature of fighting force of the nation. The Army's involvement in numerous development projects is also a noteworthy feature. The Sri Lanka Army at present is extending direct contributions for the housing construction programs for the ordinary masses. The Army's contributions for an agricultural revolution are also enormous. The Army men are actively involved in rice and vegetable production as well as animal husbandry in many areas in the island. The exceptional sporting capabilities and victories have been amply demonstrated in recent international sports tournaments. Commander-in-Chief of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage, said that Sri Lanka Army as a protector of the nation has rendered invaluable services for the security of the Sri Lankan public. The Army always functioned within a democratic framework safeguarding the constitution of the country and for the greater well-being of the entire general public. During the 73 years history of the institution, it has overcome many challenges faced by the motherland and its inhabitants. The Army has also acted to safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country and to consolidate public security. It is always extended cooperation to the food conservation program being carried out throughout the country by the government. The Army actively engaged in cultivating government lands to fulfill the food production targets. Even amidst the economic crisis, the Army is engaged in such operations through greater management and at their own expense. A guard of honour in connection with the 73rd anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army was conducted at the Infantry Regiment grounds at the Army Estate in Panagoda this morning. Army Commander Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage has presided over the event. 77 officials representing all regiments and 652 personnel representing other ranks have participated in an anniversary parade which was commanded by the commander of the Vijayabahu Regiment, Major General Nishanta Manage. Presentation of medals to officials and soldiers who have contributed to enhance credibility of the Army by going beyond their official call of duties has also taken place. The Sri Lanka Army is determined to extend its services for the well-being and the sovereignty of the nation at every instance.
Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says all disputes strikes at the Medical Transport Institute in Nugegoda will be resolved and maximum services will be provided to the general public. He has made these remarks participating in an inspection tour at the institute today. The minister has looked into the daily affairs of the Medical Institute and also engaged in a discussion with the authorities regarding enhancing facilities. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that he is pleased with the manner that the activities are being conducted at present. He added that, however, those who are involved in the activities have not yet been appreciated in an adequate manner. This is a multi-million rupee contract procedure.
According to an order of the Colombo High Court, the foreign travel ban imposed on former Minister Partali Champika Ranawaka has been removed till the 17th of March next year. Charges were filed against Mr. Ranawaka on 16 counts, including injuring a youth through the negligent driving. Colombo High Court Judge Damit Thotavatto has ordered to postpone further hearings till the 20th of March next year. Charges have been filed against 3 respondents, including former Minister Johnston Fernando, over causing losses amounting to more than 5.9 million rupees to the government through using Satosa employees in political activities during his tenure as the Minister of Trade. Former Satosa Chairman Iraj Fernando, former Director Mohammad Sakir are the others accused. Further hearings have been postponed till the 1st of November.
The second stage of a public dialogue organised by the Podujana Assistant Secretary Forum under the theme Know the Truth and Do Not Set Fire was held at the Dr. N.M. Pereira Hall, Idruanwala yesterday. Parliamentarian Sanjeeva Edirimanna, Attorney-at-Law Manoj Gamage and other public representatives as well as the members of the Podujana Assistant Secretary Forum have attended the event.
Parliamentarian Dasiri Jayasekara says that it was in a fake document that his name was published in a financial transaction of a person named Tilini Priyamali. He further says that the genuine document is with the Criminal Investigation Department and requests to conduct an investigation based on the CID document. Here's more local news in brief. A mobile phone in the possession of Tilini Priyamali has been found. The suspect is currently detained at the Valikada prison. The 22nd anniversary of the late Prime Minister Mrs. Sirimao Bandaranaike and the 77th birth anniversary of veteran politician Vijaya Kumaratunga were commemorated at the Ranpukunugama Mahavihara last evening. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga was also present. Stay with us. Foreign news is coming up next.
Welcome back. And now in foreign news, at least 25 people have been killed and more than 50 are still missing after landslides swept away their homes in the Venezuelan town of Las Dejarias. About 1,000 emergency personnel are taking part in search and rescue operations. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez said that they are trying to save whoever they can and are expressing their condolences to all those who have lost a loved one. President Nicolas Maduro has declared 3 days of national mourning. Among those killed are 2 toddlers, local media said. Torrential rainfall caused the river El Pato to burst its banks. The resulting floodwaters swept away trees, cars, houses and shops in the town, some 50 kilometers southwest of the capital, Caracas. On the walls of the houses, thick mud showed how high the floodwaters had risen. The electricity supply to the town has been cut, leaving it in darkness. Residents dug through the cloying mud by hand to try and find survivors. They were joined by sniffer dogs and specialized search teams. Interior Minister Remigio Ceballos said that the landslides had been caused by Hurricane Julia, which passed just north of Venezuela.
Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen said today that there is no room for compromise over the self-ruled island sovereignty, but she is willing to work with China to find mutually acceptable ways to maintain peace across Taiwan Strait. Tsai said in a speech marking Taiwan's National Day that the consensus of the Taiwanese people is to defend their sovereignty and their free and democratic way of life. There is no room for compromise on that. Tensions between Taipei and Beijing simmer at the highest point in recent decades. Taiwan, home to 23 million people, lies fewer than 177 kilometers off the coast of China. For more than 70 years, the two sides have been governed separately, but that hasn't stopped China's ruling communist parties from claiming the island as its own despite having never controlled it. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has said that reunification between China and Taiwan is inevitable and refused to rule out the use of force. But in her speech today, Tsai urged Chinese leaders not to go down that path.
இப்படி வந்திட இப்படி அல்பங்கள்
Prima Katumi Fantamai.
Now for sports news, Sri Lanka has been qualified for the semi-finals of the Asia Cup Women's T20 cricket tournament being conducted in Bangladesh.
In the match played against Bangladesh, the Sri Lankan team scored 83 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in 18 overs. Bangladesh was faced with a victory target of 41 runs in 7 overs, but the team was able to score only 37 runs for the loss of 7 wickets at the end of the allotted 7 overs. This is Sri Lanka's 4th victory in the tournament. Sri Lanka team faces Pakistan tomorrow.
இப்படி வந்திட இப்படி அல்பங்கள்
Prima Katumi Fantamai.
That's all the news for today. Join us again at the same time tomorrow. Good night.